Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to be chatting about how to set up your own custom GPT and train it to sound just like your organization. My name is Maria Rio, and if you're new here, I'm a fundraising expert with over a decade of experience, and I'm on a mission to get more money in the hands of EDs without the stress. So let's jump into it. So, if you're new to working with AI, you might be wondering, will this actually save me time? I don't have a lot of time to spend setting it up. Can it be done quickly? Will it follow our DEI and ethical considerations? How can I even start? And what even is a custom GPT? So, don't worry, we're going to dive into all of that right now. A custom GPT is an AI writing assistant that answers back in a specific tone of voice. So you train it and create it to speak using a certain syntax, emoji use, exclamation points, and all of that is embedded into the core of this GPT. Unlike a generic chatbot, a custom GPT is trained on your organizational vision, mission, goals, and anything else that might be relevant to the specific purpose you're using it for. The things that make it custom is that it mimics your tone and voice, your knowledge, and your boundaries, right? So the tone of voice, it can be very warm, it could be very engaging, or it could be very clinical, and it's up to you however you want to make it. Your knowledge, so you can actually upload a bunch of annual reports, FAQs, past grant applications, and it will use that information to inform the answers that it gives you and your boundaries. So you can actually set it to follow your ethical considerations. So if you don't want it to generate pictures of people, for example, or use specific language from your language guide, you can actually train it to do just that. So now that we know what a custom GPT is, how do people use it? How are nonprofit professionals and consultants using this to save time, money, blood, sweat, and tears? Okay. You're going to know. So, one really good use is to build thought leadership. Another one is starting drafts, so you never have to start with a blank page again. A third way to use it is simplifying key messages. So, a lot of organizations have really convoluted messaging, and a custom GPT can help you get to the core of it and make it really engaging. Speaking of really engaging, I use it to instill cognitive biases into my appeal. One final way that a lot of nonprofits are using custom GPTs is grant applications. So if you're getting asked the same question over and over and over again in 250 words, in 500 words, in 1,000 words, your custom GPT can help you get to the meat of the matter without you having to reinvent the wheel for every funder. Setting up a custom GPT is not hard. You only need two things. So it's super, super easy. The first thing that you need is writing samples. So samples that really speak to the brand voice or your personal voice if you're setting it up for yourself, that speak to your humor, your use of metaphors, anything that you want to include in future pieces of writing, you want to have in your sample writing pieces. And the next thing that you'll need, the two of two, is a paid ChatGPT account. So unfortunately, ChatGPT doesn't let you do this with their free version. You will have to use a paid account, but I can tell you it's more than worth the investment. I know AI can seem a little bit nebulous or convoluted, so I'm trying to break it down as simply as possible. And to set up your custom GPT, you'll only need to do three things. So you'll need to gather your writing samples, go to the link, and then input the prompt that I'll give you. So let's start with the writing samples first. As you can see, my writing samples document is quite long. And for me, I've used a different combination of blog posts that I've done in the past, pieces for community centric fundraising that I've done, op eds, specific content that I think would be helpful for my GPT to know about me. For example, my fractional fundraising offer and my business. And then some past social media posts that I've done that got really good engagement. In my writing samples, I also included a book chapter that I wrote just so it has a lot of content to go through. So you can include whatever you want in the sample. It just has to be writing that you're very happy with and that you're pretty comfortable in it replicating. So that's step one. Put everything into one document. Don't try to upload seven different documents. Just make it easy for your GPT to understand exactly what you're asking it to do. Let's move on to step two, going to the link. So you're going to go to this link, chatgpt.com/gpts/editor. That will take you directly to where you can create your own custom GPT. So here you're going to download your writing samples and you're going to copy and paste the prompt that I give you into this editor. So the prompt is analyze and create content that closely mirrors the writing style, including tone and detail levels of the text in the uploaded document. Meticulously examine and replicate the document's unique syntax, grammar, thematic elements, and literary devices. Maintain the document's nuance, voice, and thematic depth. So once you're in the editor, you're going to go to configure and you're going to upload your writing samples. So you can see here, I'm just uploading my writing samples. And then under instructions, I'm going to copy and paste this prompt. Name your custom GPT whatever you'd like to. So I'll name mine further together. You can also add a short description of what your GPT does. So if you wanted to use it exclusively for grants and you're only uploading grant based documents, that's where you would add that. Another thing that you can do is add a conversation starter. So we'll go a little bit deeper on those. Just know that every time that you want to add a conversation starter, you could actually edit this GPT. So it's not a one and done thing. You can update it to be more reflective of the work that you do and the way that you want to speak about it. So now you should have something that looks like this. Click create. You could publish it to anyone with the link, the GPT store, or only me. For now, I'll be publishing as only me. Now that you've done that, it's time to test. So for me, I put tell me something from the document, right? And it tells me exactly what's included in the document. So now I know that it actually has that to refer to. So now that we've done that, I want you to see my custom GPT so you can get a clear example of how these work day to day and make my life easier, how they'll make your life easier too. And then we'll talk about improving the custom GPT that you've just created to work on those everyday tasks that could just be repeated, right? So I have a few custom GPTs here on the side. They'll be on the left side. So I have Maria's content voice. This one is created in exactly the same way that I just showed you. It is uploading my content directly to GPT and having it speak in a way that I want. If we look at the back end of the GPT, you can see some of the conversation starters that I've set up. These conversation starters are reusable every single time that you open this GPT. For example, one of the things that I had to do most often is rewriting messages that nonprofits have. A lot of nonprofits write in very academic language, so I wanted to be in grade school English for a general audience. And this is how I do it. I set it as a conversation starter. And this conversation starter is this is a problem my client addresses, but many people don't understand why it's so urgent. Can you help me use the below to illustrate the issue to the average reader? Use grade school English, make it engaging. So that's something that I do all the time. I used it as a prompt, and now it knows exactly what I wanted to do with the next piece of text that I give it. I also have millennial vibes. So this one's trained a little bit differently, but because I am a millennial, I like to speak in a certain way online and offline. When it comes to online communication, can you rework this email so it sounds more like a millennial, so it sounds more like me? Because even in my own custom writing samples, sometimes I wanted to sound a little bit less formal, and millennial vibes helps me do just that. My other custom GPT is a LinkedIn influencer post creator. So this one is not trained on my content, it's not trained on my voice. It's trained on things that I've learned in various courses about what sticks with the LinkedIn algorithm, right? So how to create a hook, how to format a post so it's more engaging on LinkedIn, how to brainstorm a topic that I want to talk about, but I'm not exactly sure which angle to tackle it through. Two other GPTs that I have customized and set up are Fundraising Genius and Fundraising Strategist. So, Fundraising Genius is set on all the fundraising stuff that I've done in quite a long time. So, it's trained exactly to think like me when it comes to fundraising. Fundraising Strategist is only trained on the fundraising strategies that I've created. So, it knows how I would approach a problem and would recommend very overarching goals. So, Fundraising Genius, I use if I am writing a campaign and I need a first draft, or if I want to brainstorm different engagement things that I can use for an in person event or a webinar or something like that. So, it's just a really good tool that is trained on years and years of fundraising. And it is actually available in the GPT store. So, if you don't want to create your own GPT and just need some help with fundraising, Fundraising Genius is there for you. You're welcome. But I think it's something that's really, really useful. Now, before we jump into some do's and don'ts, I just want to say that if you're struggling with creating your own GPT or getting funders and dollars in through the door, I do have a link in the description that talks about how my company solves this issue for nonprofits. No pressure, but it's always there if you need it. My goal is that you get as much value from these free content pieces like this video so you can go out there and get as much funders and dollars and do all that good work to make sure that your mission is successful. That being said, let's jump into the do's and don'ts. Do define your voice early. So use past emails, blog posts, reports, and donor letters to let GPT know your tone, your values, the kind of words that you use. Just think of it as onboarding someone new who just needs these guidelines of how we talk about the work. Do use it to start a first draft. So if it's an email, if it's a report, anything like that, GPT will help you start without a blank page. If your organization works with people, you might want to include guidelines that focus on inclusive language and dignified storytelling. So making sure that your ethics are baked right into the model because your GPT should reinforce, not to undermine your values. And you really need it to know what those values are. If you're just starting with AI or ChatGPT, I would recommend also using it internally first. So using it for low risk tasks that don't require you to be an expert when it comes to editing ChatGPT-isms out of your copy. Another strong recommendation is do assign a human editor. So do not just take whatever ChatGPT gives you and put it out into the world because it's not always right and it doesn't always tell the truth, right? So you really need someone to take a look over the copy to make sure that it is actually representing your position and your organization's work in the way that you feel comfortable with. Something else that I would recommend is do set clear boundaries for how you're going to use ChatGPT at your organization. Now, I think that executive directors should play around with AI before they start writing the boundaries because otherwise, how do you know what you're keeping in these guidelines, right? You really want to make sure that it's making sense to you so then you can explain it to others and explain the why behind these decisions. That is the easiest way to get buy in from your team, right? For example, can finance upload your financial statements and ask it to create projections? Can your fundraisers upload a donor list and ask it to create projections? Can your HR person upload confidential HR information to create a performance review, right? So there are some kind of boundaries that you will want to set with your staff team. So what's allowed, what's not allowed. If you're writing person to person, so I've seen some organizations that when it's a one-to-one email, they're saying, "No, ChatGPT is not the best way there," but they're okay with one-to-many. So just thinking through your specific values and your specific positioning will really help set and create those boundaries. Now, let's jump into some do not, do not do this. So do not assume ChatGPT is always right. As we said, mistakes can be made. It doesn't know your organization and it's not a person, it's a machine. So really making sure that if it's making a joke, it's actually funny. ChatGPT doesn't do humor very well. If it's telling a story, that it's told with dignity. We know that a lot of AI is built on information that can have systemic bias and discrimination baked into it. So you really want to make sure that that's not coming out into your content. Another don't is don't let it become your organization's voice, right? ChatGPT is a tool, it is not a storyteller. You still need someone who is a storyteller to be able to put the pieces in the right order and to know the way that it will emotionally resonate with another person. ChatGPT just doesn't understand emotions as well as people do, of course, right? So you really want to make sure that you have human eyes on this and that you're not letting it replace your organization's voice. As I said earlier, you do want to set clear boundaries and you want your ED to be very comfortable using this tool. So, that being said, don't ignore any security risks, right? Get on this as quickly as possible because a lot of your staff are already using GPTs or other AI tools. So, I really want you to start thinking like, how can I make sure that this is secure for our organization, for our staff, for our donors, for our broader community? Another don't is I would say don't gatekeep AI. So if this is something that you're new at and don't feel comfortable, don't say to everyone at the organization, you're not allowed to use it. No one's allowed to use it without even understanding it, right? I think saying don't use AI right now is similar to saying don't use a computer. Like AI is here, it's here to stay, and it's being baked into everything that we use. So it's already being used in CRMs, it's already being used in email management systems, it's already being used by conferences, by everything that we interact with as fundraisers and as nonprofit staff. So I really want you to think, do we want to be left behind or do we want to be ahead of the curve? My last don't is don't set it and forget it. Your voice might change year over year. So just because you set this up 2 years ago doesn't mean that you don't revisit it time and time again, just to make sure that it's working exactly the way that you want. So that's a broader overview of how you can set up your custom GPT. I will leave the prompt that I used in this video in the description down below. Also, again, if you're struggling with fundraising, you could click the link in the description that shows you a video of how we do it at my company. But yeah, thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. I so appreciate you. If you want to tell the algorithm that you want to continue receiving really great fundraising tips from me, then please like, comment, and subscribe. But I do hope that this helps you create your own custom GPT and saves you time because I know a lot of people in our sector are really struggling with being burnt out or not having enough time. So if this is something that you got value from, please comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.